Hi all, my name is Comet and welcome to my Cosmic Corner of the Internet where we discuss all things astrology, and today, all things Kardashian and Jenners. Yes, if you've watched my pop culture astrology playlist, you know that I believe that reality television can be a great way to understand astrology deeper because yes, parts of it might be scripted or played up, but we get to see an inside look in these personalities and associate the sign archetypes to understand a little bit deeper. Before I dive into all of the Kardashian fun, if you wouldn't mind, if at any point in this video you gain any bit of value, of clarity, a smile, a giggle, a laugh, I would so appreciate if you could drop a like, comment below, subscribe if I earned it, turn on the notifications. Any little boost of engagement really helps me in keeping these videos coming. And without further ado, let's get into the video. So throughout the Kris's video, I'll be focusing on the main kind of core group of Kardashians. So Kris, Kourtney, Kim, Khloe, Kendall, Kylie, and then wrapping it up with a birth chart of the show itself, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, as they have announced that they are nearing their final season. So it'll be interesting to look at the chart of the show itself to see any timing indications, to see the energy that the show kind of portrayed, so on and so forth. So I'll be going in age order. So let's begin with Kris.
Hey Paul, it's Kris Jenner. I have a quick question for you.
Okay.
My question is this: is there any way that I could get pregnant?
Absolutely not.
So Kris is a Scorpio, which she is shrewd. Like, you've got to admit, whether you love or hate the Kardashians, that they are so gifted in staying in the news at all times for as long as they have. I mean, it's amazing. And I definitely attribute Kris to much of that, as she is the manager. And Scorpio is a sort of energy that is very, very concerned with power. And I think Kris is very shrewd. She's very psychological, which Scorpio is very good at. They're very strategic with how they move forward. Her manager abilities also show out in her Virgo rising. Like, she is attuned to detail. She handles the little details. I don't know the degree of the role that she plays in all of her daughter's bookings and whatnot, but with the Virgo rising, they are very pre-concerned with handling the little details. And both Scorpio and Virgo have in common that though Scorpio has a strong desire to be powerful, neither sort of energy needs to be center stage. You know, like Scorpio is sort of like the puppeteer pulling all of the strings, and then Virgo rising like makes all the little things happen. Like, neither need all the credit, neither need all the glory. And she, like many in the Kardashian family, has a strong Lilith placement. It's right on her Venus. And Lilith is the wild feminine, right? It's the portion that can't be controlled. It's like the rebellious feminine. And it's also the energy of kind of like femme fatale, especially on Venus. It's like Venus is all pretty, so it like lures people in to just like destroy them. And I definitely see that sort of energy prominent within the, you know, feminine figures of the Kardashian family. And let me tell you this, Kris Kardashian's chart is consumed with power. Like I said, Scorpio moon, right? Cancer moon has a strong desire for safety and stability. She's got Jupiter in Leo, conjoining Pluto in Leo. She is expanded by feeling powerful, and this is an at all costs sort of energy. Like, when I look at her chart, I see this like ruthlessness. Like, I will get what I want no matter what it takes. And it's fascinating, her Cancer moon is at the top of her chart, so in the 10th house of career and public persona, and like both Cancer and moon are associated with maternal figure, and with it being a 10th house, quite literally being famous for being a mom. If you have this placement, it doesn't necessarily mean that every single time. It could be working in like a lunar, you know, field, like hospitality, or doing something, you know, regarding emotions. But for Kris's chart, I feel like that's pretty obvious. If this birth time is to be believed, she's a Virgo rising with Mercury conjoining Neptune. And there's almost an ability to be able to persuade and manipulate via her words. Like with Mercury and Neptune, there can be a struggle with telling the truth. And I don't know if that's totally played out with Kris, but I think she knows that words can be manipulated and truth can be manipulated and facts can be manipulated, because with Mercury Neptune, there's almost a sense of like nothing's real, and that words can be used as a vehicle to convey certain ideals or to paint certain pictures. And there can be a tendency not to be always the most truthful necessarily. Also worth noting, you know, besides her Virgo rising, which I don't know for sure if the birth time is to be believed, she has no earth. And it's always like hard for people to believe when they see someone with no earth, because especially if they're very wealthy. But people who don't have any earth in their placements can struggle with feeling safe. So they acquire more because they don't know when is enough. And they come from this like, you know, foundational not feeling safe or even secure. So it's always like more. And I feel like that's why I see this like ruthlessness and this shrewd strategy like in her chart, because there's like this energy of like, I've got to get more before someone beats me to it. And I've got to like manipulate this piece of information. It's almost like viewing people like chess players and like being able to move them around, because she comes from an inherent feeling of lack, and her Cancer moon wants to feel safe and secure. So it's almost like if I don't have everything, I don't know if I have enough.
My vibe right now is just living life. I am just here to live life. I was just there living life. You can't say we didn't live life. We are definitely living life. Just like live life and have fun. Live that life, girl. Live that life.
Next up, we'll discuss Kourtney Kardashian, who is a Aries sun, a Mercury in Aries, Mars in Aries, Venus Pisces, and a Capricorn moon. I mean, you definitely pick up on her Aries. Like, she is definitely very forward. She's very direct, like with Mercury in Aries, that little like sound that's trending on TikTok. Don't be rude. I wasn't being rude, but I know not to make those jokes with you. Like with Mercury and Mars in Aries is someone who is direct, who is kind of playful with language. So when other people take it really seriously, she doesn't quite get it. Because with Mercury and Aries, you know, Aries is ruled by Mars. So it's almost like her weapon of choice is words. But with Aries, there's kind of not taking things too seriously or just saying things just because that's how it is. Whereas other people are like, that's so rude, or that's so harsh, or that's so direct. But like for an Aries, it's like, I'm just calling it like I see it. Venus and Pisces rising, if the time is to be expected, might seem, you know, contradictory to that. One being with Venus and Pisces, I really do see this romantic side of her, which I think, you know, the Aries part wants to seem all like tough, but with Venus and Pisces, this can be having sympathy for seedy individuals, right? Wearing rose-colored glasses and not seeing the reality, or like believing that people are going to change. You know, Venus and Pisces, it is exalted, but there certainly is a tendency for these natives to want to save people or want to fix people and to attract people who are in need of help and in need of saving in some way. She's got Jupiter in Cancer in the 5th house, and Jupiter is where we're lucky, where we're expanded. And with Cancer, it's exalted there. And in the 5th house that governs children. Like, I feel like Kourtney really loves being a mom, and I feel like you can see that from the show. Kim and Khloe, everyone's like, why are you not starting all these businesses? And it just seems like Kourtney's never really had that drive, just because with someone who has Jupiter and Cancer in the 5th house, she can really feel satiated and fulfilled just by being a mother. She has a Capricorn moon, which I see often with the oldest siblings. Like, oldest siblings will often have Capricorn because they often have a lot of responsibilities put on them. It's like, you can't just be a child. You have to like take care of everyone else and like rear in all of these people. There's like a huge pressure with Capricorn children to grow up really quickly. And the nice thing about Capricorn is that it's an energy, all Saturn ruled planets is an energy that ages backwards, because Saturn is a planet of time. So it's almost like they're given all these responsibilities when they're a youth, but the older that they get, the more they're able to tap into kind of the lighter sides of their personality, their joy of play, and just kind of having fun. And I see that within her chart, is this really like lust for life and just this enjoyment of life, this true romantic side. Like, you might see the Aries, you know, Mercury, Mars, Sun in Aries, which seems very like direct and almost kind of forceful, but I do see kind of just like an enjoyment and a pleasure of life, and not too many ulterior motives. She has Neptune on the midheaven. Neptune fogs and confuses what it touches. Midheaven is her career, her public persona, and how we as the viewer see her. So with Neptune there can be a desire to project onto her, and also people just not seeing her clearly. Like, when I look at her chart, it almost seems like it's honestly sort of simplistic. Like, she's really just fed by being, you know, a mom. She loves romance. She's very direct. She's kind of like playful with life. But with Neptune in the 10th house, people can project all sorts of things on her. And there also could be confusion in terms of her own kind of public persona, or like where it is that she wants to go. Like, I feel like she's like done a couple of different things, and it's like, well, what is my thing? You know, there's like confusion, that sector of her own professional world outside of the show. So Kim Kardashian is a Libra sun, a Pisces moon, a Venus Virgo, Mars in Sagittarius, and Mercury Scorpio. Lots to dig into. So first being, she's got Sun conjoining Pluto. It's a wide orb, but it is worth noting, you know, Pluto is the planet of polarity, intensity, and power. And definitely, you know, people had such a polarizing, you know, perception of her, like, you know, really divvied out people who like loved her and people who did not like her at all. But it's about tapping into and wielding her own power eventually. And I think it's interesting, you know, she's gotten really into the law because Libra is associated with the justice system. And it's almost like using her influence, her power for something good. And that Sun-Pluto conjunction is also conjoining Lilith, which is also present in Kris's chart as that kind of wild feminine. With Pisces moon, it's squaring Neptune. I love Pisces energy, don't get me wrong, but Pisces moon can be delusional. They can be very emotional and very manipulative because of their own emotions. And with her square to Neptune, I mean, like I said, with Neptune, like how Kourtney had, it definitely gives a lot of glamour, good with camera and films and screens of all kinds. But with the square to Neptune, there can be a paranoia in regards to one emotion, reading into things that aren't said. Like Pisces moon tend to be very intuitive, but with the square to Neptune, it's like what's real and what's not. It can also lead to a high degree of narcissism or not having a realistic grasp of who someone is, or confusion on like, well, who am I exactly? And it's made even more interesting because her moon opposes Venus, and Venus is also squaring Neptune. If there is anyone who should be careful around plastic surgery, it is individuals who have Venus and Virgo aspecting Neptune or Pluto, okay? It's not necessarily that, you know, they'll have bad results because danger will come their way, but it's that they don't have a realistic grasp of their own beauty, because Venus is beauty. The square to Neptune can fog and confuse. And with Venus and Virgo, Venus doesn't perform well in Virgo. It's in its fall, because Virgo is after the pursuit of perfection. So it's like Venus and Virgo having insane ideals of perfection for one's own beauty, and with the square to Neptune not being able to have a grasp of how it is that we look, so going to more and more extremes. I don't feel like her plastic surgery looks bad. I just wonder as she gets older, just because with the aspecting to Neptune, it's like never knowing when enough is enough, especially in Virgo. It's like truly searching for perfection. She's got Jupiter on her midheaven, which definitely contributes to the widespread expansiveness, like everyone knowing who she is, as well as Saturn exalted, which Saturn is structures. And with Saturn at the top of her chart at the midheaven, it's why she's been able to stand the test of time. Like she was relevant in 2007, she's relevant now. People with Saturn at the midheaven, Paris Hilton has it too. I have a whole video on that. I'll link it in the description. It's individuals who have staying power. With Neptune in the first, like I said, with Kourtney, who had Neptune in the 10th, Kim has Neptune in the first. Marilyn Monroe had Neptune in the first. It gives someone a glamour, but we do not see them clearly. We project things onto them. And for hers in particular, like I said, with the kind of delusions, not having a realistic grasp on her own beauty, with Neptune in the first, there's a confusion around what someone looks like. It definitely grants glamour in photos and things of that nature, but I do think there's a nature of an element, especially with her chart, of being like, wait, who am I underneath the cameras and the pictures, and like, what do I really look like? There's a confusion to her chart. Mercury in Scorpio, I feel like Kim also was quite shrewd, and with Mercury Scorpio conjoining Uranus, it's why she's been able to like break the internet multiple times and just kind of has a gift with utilizing social media, because Mercury Uranus individuals tend to be a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of technology, which she most certainly does, and she's shrewd with her usage of technology with the energy in Scorpio.
I like things individually wrapped because I'm on the go a lot and it makes it easy, and also my nieces and nephews. That's my birth control alarm, hold on.
Khloe Kardashian is a Cancer sun, a Venus Cancer, Mercury Cancer, Gemini moon. So it's interesting because the core three, like the oldest three sisters, are all cardinal signs, which makes her for great TV. You know, we've got Kourtney the Aries, Kim the Libra, and Khloe the Cancer. And so those are all cardinal energy. The energy is kind of conflicting, conflict in between them. And with Khloe has so much in Cancer. And I remember reading that her Instagram bio at some point in time said like, the love so deep that the ocean would be jealous. Like that is Cancer energy. And she's got Mars and Scorpio. Like she wants depth. She's very emotionally committed, and with Cancer energy, you know, they're ruled by the moon, so they're very responsive to their environment, which, you know, other people would just call moody. But with a Cancer, they really have this profound desire to feel safe, to feel secure. So it makes me kind of sad looking at her chart, because like it's not something that she's totally, you know, gotten quite yet. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Tristan is a Pisces, which would complete, you know, the water grand trine within her chart. But she's looking for, you know, something so deep and like this really soulful love. And unfortunately, it kind of can be the sort of energy that can be manipulated, because these individuals are so emotional and like are so romantic and want to truly merge with a partner that they're willing to overlook things that maybe shouldn't necessarily be overlooked. And I find her so funny and quirky and witty, and I think this is because of her Gemini moon for sure.
Experience it. You always say I want to experience things, but I don't think you actually want to experience things, because you would experience it if you wanted to experience things. I don't know what you're talking about.
Kendall Jenner is a Scorpio sun, Venus Sagittarius, Mars Sagittarius, conjoining Jupiter, Aries moon. You know, Kendall, I feel like we don't know a lot about her because she's a Scorpio, you know, a little bit secretive. With the Aries moon, I feel like she's pretty direct, like she's pretty forward, like there's nothing really crazy to know. I do find it interesting that she's got Mars and Sagittarius conjoining Jupiter, and because from what I know that she tends to date athletes, which definitely would be Mars and Sagittarius conjoining Jupiter. If you know, you know. And she has Venus and Sagittarius conjoining Pluto. So with Venus conjoining Pluto. So I said that bit about Mars and Sagittarius because traditionally it was considered that Mars in our birth chart shows what we find attractive in the masculine. And with Sagittarius, you know, someone who's lucky, it's a fire sign, so someone who's active. Typically Sagittarius is associated with sports. Venus is what, like, our love language, our relationship with money. And with Venus on Pluto, there is an intensity to these themes, being transformed by relationships, being obsessive, being jealous, or attracting obsessive or jealous individuals. You know, as a Scorpio, she is all or nothing. Take my entire soul or I want no part of it. When it comes to money, this definitely contributes to, you know, being very wealthy, but also feeling more powerful as a result of more money and more money.
Always. What they've been up to. Straws, I almost hit that car. I know you really need to be careful. You've almost crashed twice already. I can't really see that well. You know how I'm like blind. Can you just see if my glasses are in that? No. No? Are they in here?
Kylie is a Leo sun, and I was laughing looking at her chart because she has like what we use for synastry indications in astrology. It's called a vertex right on her sun. And synastry is our relationship with other people. So when I looked at it, my first thought was like, oh my gosh, like her true love is herself, especially with it in Leo, which isn't really how that works, but it just made me laugh. Like I definitely feel like she's super in love with herself. And then with Scorpio moon, you know, she's very, very private. And like I said, with Kris, who had a Scorpio portion of the chart, Scorpio individuals are interested in power. And a lot of the clan has strong or prominent Scorpio placements. So with Scorpio moon, you know, she's not very forthright about her emotions. Like a Scorpio moon hates looking dumb or people knowing their inner world to a larger perspective. But we know that she's definitely interested in power. She's got Venus in Virgo just like Kim does, and her Venus is right on Lilith. This family is the most Lilith family that you've ever seen. But I also would say, like I said in Kim's case, that both of these sisters with Venus in Virgo, because Venus is in its fall, and may this go to show if you have Venus in its fall, it does not mean that you are ugly. Like both these women are beautiful, but Venus is beauty. Virgo is perfection. These individuals are looking for the pursuit of perfection, which we live in an imperfect world. It can never really be attained. So it almost sets people up to constantly think, okay, more and more and more, and also to be really picky, like nitpicky in regards to love relationships as well. And I do want to say, just like her mom, she also has moon in the 10th house. 10th house rules public affairs, career, public persona. Moon is where we go for nurturing and support. So there's almost this energy of Kylie feeling deserving of nurturing, or where she goes for nurturing support is success to a grand level. Her midheaven is in Libra, makes sense since she has a makeup brand, and then she has Mars conjoining it, which makes sense because she's kind of like the manager, she, you know, runs it, so on and so forth. Couple thoughts when I look at the Keeping Up with the Kardashians show chart. So the chart of the day that it debuted, which was October 14th, 2007. So one being the chart is the most similar to Kim Kardashian out of the bunch. They have Libra Sun, Mercury in Scorpio, Venus Virgo, and then Pisces is the rising and Sagittarius Moon in the show's chart, and those are swapped with Kim's, right? Like she's a Sagittarius rising with a Pisces Moon. So very similar to her, and of course her own, controversy kind of propelled the show into notoriety. Other notes on the chart. We see Pluto is hugging the midheaven of the chart itself. And for the show, midheaven is all of us as a viewer. And with Pluto at the top, this indicates a lot of polarization, right? People either loving it or hating it or getting so obsessive around it, right? Like having to deal with, stalker fans or just even people who are just so engrossed in it. It is interesting that Mars is in Cancer in the 4th house, the most private portion of the chart. And what is the show around? Family squabbles, mostly, right? Cancer governs family, 4th house is home, things that are private, close to heart, so definitely in the show itself, it kind of magnetizes and expands those squabbles and disagreements. Now, when we look at what's happening now for this chart, it's a confusing time for the show. South Node passed the midheaven, and when you have South Node, I like to kind of liken it to a vacuum. It almost like sucks the life out of something, and with South Node passing the midheaven, there's almost this loss of purpose or loss of direction. And with midheaven being, public persona, it almost seems like there's just a confusion on what makes sense for this particular show, how to move forward, and likely, the conclusion they reached is that it doesn't necessarily make sense any longer. And we also need to consider Saturn is passing the Chiron of the show. So Saturn is responsibility, discipline, and with it passing the Chiron, it's almost like this feeling of, okay, we are sick of exacerbating our wounds for the public eye. And we've built structures outside of the shows where we no longer have to do that. Jupiter has already entered the show's 12th house, which signals a time of closure and completion. It's even more significant as that is the ascendant ruler as a Pisces rising. So with the ruling planet entering the 12th house, which is a very sort of hidden private house, has to do with endings, completion, things coming full circle. It absolutely makes sense of why they are wrapping up the show. The other kind of creepy astrology thing is that Neptune is nearing the ascendant, and it'll join the show's ascendant on March 21st, which is a couple days after the debut of the final season, which is March 18th. Ooh, so with Neptune on the ascendant, I mentioned in this video, but Neptune does govern film, TV, and screens, but also it can create feelings of confusion or feeling lost or recommitment to kind of a higher spiritual calling or theme. So I think it'll be kind of an emotional finale for everyone involved, especially, Neptune and Pisces rising, as well as hopefully for the Kardashians themselves, sort of a reflection on the role that they've played in people's lives, the growth that they've kind of catalyzed throughout all of the seasons, so on and so forth. Friends, I'm so happy I got to do this. Let me know what else you want to see. I'm so open for suggestions. My Instagram handle is @HaleyCometAstrology. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.